Hello, my love. I hope everything is wonderful in your world, as wonderful as it can be in this pandemic moment. I am so excited to be here talking with you. If someone would give me a thumbs up, let me know that you can hear me. I am using my fancy new microphone, and I want to make sure that it works. Hello, my darlings. Okay, so I am really excited to talk with you today about self-confidence. It's a really important issue because I think so many of us have it just backwards, right? We have this story in our heads that I will be confident when, right? When I get the degree, when I achieve the thing, when I've seen X number of patients or gotten X number of clients as a life coach, when I'll be a confident parent when my kid reaches whatever milestone, right? But I want to actually say that the definition of self-confidence as I think about it is being secure in yourself and your abilities and understanding that that is a choice, right? It is having the thought that you are secure and just deciding that that's the thought that you are going to think over and over and over again. Right? So self-confidence is the ability to trust yourself, knowing that you can experience any emotion in the world, including failure, without being harmed. So let me say that again. Self-confidence is knowing that you can feel any emotion, disappointment, frustration, anger, sadness, failure, without being harmed in yourself, because you have the belief, the knowing, the trust that you can choose your thoughts to create your feelings. And you can feel your feelings in your body and you can show up for them. You can show up for the wounded inner child within, can give that sweet baby some love, can understand where your fears of feeling certain feelings come from. And from that knowledge, from that knowing, you can feel empowered to understand that you get to choose the next right thought. And if you just dissolve the notion that failure is a bad thing and understand that in this family, we define failure as a great thing because it means that you tried, right? You put yourself out there, you got vulnerable, you did the thing, and maybe you got the outcome that you wanted. Maybe you got a different outcome, but you tried. And so in our family, here, the Feminist Wellness Podcast family, we define failure in a bad way, meaning you stopped trying. You gave up on your wildest dreams. And so we fail. We fail on purpose. We fail ahead of time. We set ourselves up to have big, wild, amazing dreams, and then we break them down into doable steps, and you just do the next right thing. Right? You do the next right thing and the next right thing, and you continue to take courageous action. So we define courageous action, and that is podcast episode 38, as going for it, right? Setting the impossible dream, breaking it down into doable steps, trying one, seeing if it works. If it doesn't work, you go back to the drawing board, you try again. You go back to the drawing board and you try again. I love the Pema Chodron quote because I love everything Pema Chodron says. Fail again, fail better. That is, we get to get comfortable with the notion of discomfort, right? That's one of the key teachings of all meditation, breath work, Zen, all of it, right? Is that you get to get comfortable with sitting with yourself, with sitting with your worries, your fears, your concerns, all those old stories and cassette tapes from your life that may tell you you're less than, that failure is really scary, that there's room for self-doubt. And I want to tell you that you can meet all of those old stories with the 3 A's: awareness, acceptance, and action. So awareness is the key step to shifting all of this, and it's key to building self-confidence, is getting aware of where your self-confidence is lacking, right? If there's an arena of your life, a relationship, a process where you just, I don't know, you've just got a case of the I don't knowsies. And so you get to get aware of where that's coming up for you and then feel it in your body. When I am in self-doubt, when I am doubting myself, when I am not living into my self-confidence, when I'm worried about possible outcomes, understanding that worrying is always just borrowing trouble you don't have in this moment, right? It's future tripping, never serves you, right? When I am in that, how can I compassionately give myself love and recognize where those feelings live in my body? So when I feel self-doubt, it's like a closing at my throat chakra, and my belly feels like it's doing flip-flops, right? And my hands, it's like, That's that feeling of self-doubt, of worry, of not being in self-confidence in my body. And so I get to check in with myself day to day as I'm doing really scary things, building my business, deepening my relationships, right? Doing these things that for someone who grew up with codependency and perfectionism are really challenging and scary. And I get to do them and to check in with my body to see what my body's reaction is, so I can understand the thought that I want to choose to actively bring in. Awareness, acceptance. This is where a lot of people get stuck. So the acceptance is in saying, okay, I am having this experience. I am having this somatic experience, this physical experience in my body of like self-doubt, and it feels, ugh. I don't feel like I'm in self-confidence. And remember, our physiology gives us the information that we need. So I have noticed when I'm in self-confidence, I'm writing the email like this. I'm hitting the go live button like this, right? With my shoulders back, chest held high. Let's go. And you can still take the action from that scared place, from that worried place, and you can just decide you're going to do it anyway. And that's part of building that self-trust. Right? So each time you feel like, oh gosh, I am worried about sending that email. I am worried about answering this call. I feel that nervousness, that self-doubt, and I'm going to do it anyway because I want the result. I want the goal. And for this one moment, I'm going to choose the thought, let's do it anyway. You bring in that chispa, that spark of self-confidence, and that stays with you. Right? It builds on itself. It opens gently, slowly, that window of tolerance for discomfort, a little more, a little more, a little more, until it's more and more comfortable to be in that discomfort. Awareness, I'm having self-doubt. Fine. Acceptance. I accept that it's happening instead of being like this, right? So often in the like positive vibes only kind of spiritual world, the energy, the teaching is like to just like push it aside, to pretend it's not happening. Like, oh, self-doubt isn't happening. I'm going to fake confidence. And it doesn't work long term, right? It could work for like a millisecond. But in the long term, it's not going to get you to the outcome you want, because you have to choose to try on that feeling of self-confidence, to say to yourself like, okay, for 1 second, I'm just going to feel into it, right? But I'm going to do it by acknowledging, accepting, understanding what else is happening in my physiology, in my body, in my psychology, in my mind. Understanding where it comes from, who taught you that, when did you learn that? Is that your inner child, your inner adolescent? Like, what's up, baby? And from there, from really understanding it, really sitting with it, not attempting to emotionally bypass it, because we don't do that shit in here, right? Not with me. From that place of true, deep, radical acceptance of self, then you can take action. Then you can use the thought work protocol that I teach my clients, that I teach on the Feminist Wellness Podcast, to say, okay, I want to feel confident, right? And I understand that confidence is an inside job. 100% of the time, the call is coming from inside the house. So it's never the circumstance that makes you feel confident, right? It's never saying, I've driven from here to there 1,000 times that makes you feel confident. It is the thought, I have driven from here to there 1,000 times. It's not the fact of doing something new in your business or in your personal life that makes you feel confident about it. It's just having that choice, right? That thought choice to send a different signal through your perfect physiology, right? And this process of checking in and deciding that you will be responsible for your own thoughts and you will be responsible for your follow through. These are the key things, right? To trust yourself, to decide. And I want you to decide with me right now in this moment, like, let's pinky swear. We're going to stop beating ourselves up. Because I think that's the number one dream killer that I see in my clients. Particularly if you come from a history of codependent or perfectionist thought fantasies. If that's your thought habit, both of those habits and everything they bring with them, people pleasing, externalizing your value, thinking that what other people think of you matters, it doesn't, right? All these things bring self-doubt with them. They take that confident thought away, right? And when you can clue in to what lies beneath it, you can decide that the beating yourself up, that's part and parcel of perfectionism, right? Everything has to be perfect. I can't start this project until I know every detail, until I've done like all the research, right? The things that get in the way, the procrastination, the pushing it off, the thinking you're less than, the wanting someone else to approve, all of that keeps you from your power. And it keeps you deciding you're going to beat yourself up. You're going to look back with regret. You're going to say, I can't make this decision. Today, in episode 63, today's episode of the Feminist Wellness Podcast, we are talking all about decision making. And I love this topic. I talk to so many women who say, I 10 out of 10 want this outcome in my life, like whatever the outcome is. I want that result more than anything. And then when I ask, what are you willing to do to get it? Are you willing to take courageous action, which means putting yourself out there, risking failure, failing 1,000 different times in ways you couldn't even imagine? Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to make a bold, decisive choice for your future? What I often hear back is, I need to think about it. I need to sort it out. Right? And it's not that meditative, I need to check in with my intuition. That's great. Do that, right? Check in with that sweet voice inside you. It's that I don't know that comes from thinking there's an emotion that you cannot withstand. An emotion that will rend you completely. And please, I get it. I have been very depressed, very anxious before in my life. I get it. I get deeply being in that place where you think, I can't handle this. But the more you continue to think, I can't handle this, you are sending that signal into your physiology, right? You are sending that, you are depleting your serotonin, you're depleting your oxytocin, like you're not giving yourself the chance by repeating that thought, I don't know, I can't, I'm worried. You take away that chance to step into, I am self-confident. I am decisive. There is no emotion I cannot handle. And there are emotions you may need to titrate, meaning introduce into your system drop by drop by drop. Not like take a gallon full of disappointment and pour it on your head, right? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about taking these small, courageous steps, knowing that you can handle anything. You can feel it in your physiology. You can sit with it. You can learn to find peace and comfort in the discomfort and to be okay with the discomfort of discomfort, right? It's all okay. And you have the power to decide that you want to send those kind of thoughts and thus those kinds of feelings into your physiology. When you are willing to experience any emotion, then you can be flooded with a self-confidence of knowing that you're never going to beat yourself up because we just pinky sweared. And you better not break a pinky swear. That's very serious, my love. You're never going to beat yourself up. There's no emotion that you are absolutely unwilling to have. The other thing that's part and parcel of building confidence is taking a really hard look at your opinion of yourself, the ways you think about yourself, the stories you tell about yourself. I did an episode recently, episode 50, Positive Self-Regard, episode of the Feminist Wellness Podcast, in which we talked in detail about how to build a positive sense of self, right? So what that means, what that looks like, how to really step into knowing, believing that you are completely awesome. You are completely amazing. And believing that you are perfect and worthy of love because you were born that way. It's just literally who you are. You are this perfect starseed that's so magnificent. That's how you were born. That's how you are. And you get to choose to believe it. Anything else your brain offers you is simply a thought error. It's not real, it's not true, it's just an old habitual thought. So much of my work is about looking at our thought habits that were put into our brains by society, our families, our culture, patriarchy, the capitalism, right? Looking at those thoughts that fill us up and feel like truths, from the understanding that a belief is simply a thought that you have thought over and over and over and over and over again until it feels true. So back in the day, right, when people thought the earth was flat, it was a fact. It was a fact to them because they had thought it so many times. We got some different science going on and we know a different thing or two, right? This is like the basis of everything I do, is understanding the science of how brains work, how wellness works, how our thinking and our feeling works. And the basis of science is hypothesis, and understanding that every thought, every belief is just today's hypothesis. It's no more real or true or proven. You just get to build evidence for yourself. And you build evidence for your self-confidence by putting yourself out there. And by putting yourself out there, by believing that you are going to do your best, that you are good and capable and worthy, strong, competent, right? That you've done hard things before and you can do them again. And it's your feeling that produces that result, that feeling of self-confidence. So you get to look at the thoughts that make you feel that way. If that feels like a way too far a stretch, I want to invite you to try on a bridge thought. And I'll do an episode of the podcast about bridge thoughts soon, putting it on the list. So a bridge thought is a thought that you use to get you from here to there. So think about a river and there's two paths. So on one side, you're standing here thinking, I am not self-confident. I don't trust myself. You know, I don't believe I can do this. And on the other side, and watch my physiology, right? So self-doubt, this is self-doubt, this is judgment, this is, oh God, I'm going to beat myself up if I do it wrong. What if I fail and that's a bad thing, right? You create tension within the body. And way back in episode 3, I believe, of the Feminist Wellness Podcast, we talked about how one of the roots of anxiety is tension, is creating tension in the body. So start with the physiology, my beauty. Belly breath and out. So to get from this side of the river where you're in that tense, self-doubting place all the way across to like, yeah, I can do this. I might not know what the outcome is, because you never do, because life is forever uncertain, right? But I know that I want to work towards this result in my life, this outcome in my life. And the result I'm going to create in my mind is that I'm going to be proud of myself regardless of what comes. If I fail, it's a gift because then I learned what didn't work and I get to try again. I get to fail again. Fail again, fail better, as Pema teaches us. And so I get it. To get from here to there feels like, what? That's a leap, girl. It is. It's a leap. So you get to choose bridge thoughts. So a bridge thought is like you put one plank down in front of you, you step on it. You put another thought plank in front of you, you step on it, right? And you're building a bridge across to where you can believe the new thought. because a cornerstone of my work is understanding our brains and our nervous systems and our psychology, and that you can't force the brain to have a new thought, and you can't force the body to have a new feeling. It doesn't work. Like if you've ever been depressed and someone's like, ugh, snap out of it. Or you're stressed out and someone says, ugh, just relax. I mean, right? It doesn't work. It's not how physiology works. It's just not how it works, right? And so instead of trying to force your brain and your body to believe something that you're just calling BS on, you build a bridge. So it sounds like this. Today, I am practicing believing that I can one day be confident. Today, I am practicing believing that self-confidence comes from within. Today, I am practicing releasing self-doubt. Today, I am learning how to trust myself. Today, I am beginning to raise my awareness of when I beat myself up, with the goal of releasing that old habit of being harsh or mean with myself, of having unrealistic perfectionist expectations of myself. So this is how we do, my love. Slowly, surely, step by step, titration, again, which in science means adding just a little drop, letting it settle, adding just another drop, letting it settle, right? And creeping on up to a new belief till you have the belief, like, and it's really in you, that you know there's no emotion you cannot survive, till you know that confidence comes from within, from self-esteem and positive self-regard, from at the very least choosing not to be mean to you while you work on being your own best friend. I want to point something out here that is the sort of objection that I often get. So self-confidence, aren't I just going to turn into an arrogant jerk? I don't recommend it, my love. So arrogance is when you think that you're better than someone else and then you try to prove it. You do everything you can to prove it. So true self-love, true self-confidence comes from lifting yourself up, and arrogance comes from a place of creating false self-confidence by trying to put others down. So arrogance is about attempting to raise yourself up by the opposite of compare and despair, like compare and you suck. Right? Like, oh, I did that so much better than Lisa. Right? Oh, Megan tried to do this thing, but I did it better. Right? So in that moment, instead of really building yourself up, what you're doing is you're putting yourself, nope, the other way around. You are attempting to put others down in order to feel better about yourself. And I would say that arrogance actually comes from a lack of self-confidence, because self-confidence, when it's coming from that genuine, real place, is based in an understanding that all humans, all animals, all rocks and crystal, like every creature and thing on this planet is equally perfect and amazing and incredible and worthy of love. And all humans are capable within their own realm, within their own framework, within, right? We are all so capable of reaching for our dreams and being kind to ourselves along the way. The thing to point out as well about arrogance is that when we are criticizing others, it's usually a projection. So I talk about this a lot when I talk about and work with my life coaching clients around perfectionism. And in the episodes of the Feminist Wellness Podcast that I did about perfectionism, probably about a month ago, if you see me looking this way, I'm looking at the list of episode numbers. So it was in mid-March. Episodes 56 and 57 of the Feminist Wellness Podcast are all about perfectionism and how to overcome it. And so when we are in perfectionism, one of the things that we are doing that keeps us in so much shame, and I define perfectionism as simple math, shame plus fear equals perfectionism. I'm gonna let that sink in. Shame plus fear equals perfectionism. So guilt is I did an oopsie. Shame is I am an oopsie. Like I am bad. Hurts my heart that you'd think that. but we all think it. We all have bits of shame within us, right? So that feeling, I am bad, I am unworthy, I am not loved and lovable, and I'm not good enough, plus the fear that someone else is going to think that about you or reflect it back to you, leads to the tension that is perfectionism. And so when we're in arrogance or when we're criticizing others, it's also a projection, right? So it's a way to compensate for your own lack of confidence by trying to make yourself better than someone else in your own mind. So you're projecting your own worries of your own not enoughness, your own unworthiness onto other humans. Ouch, right? And arrogance also, and perfectionism, I'm not at all saying that arrogance and perfectionism are the same, because they rarely look the same, but there's a thread, right? There's like a little thread there somewhere. And so arrogance denies faults, right? Because it's so ego-based that it cannot tolerate any kind of rejection, like at all. And it leads us to tell tales, to lie, to exaggerate our abilities, our accomplishments. Arrogance is based in fear, not self-confidence. So when you're in true self-confidence, you say, I did an amazing job, and so did you. It actually makes me think of, this just popped into my brain, the British Bake Off, which I love, and I love it. It's not that fascinating to watch people like stir flour together, but what I love and what keeps me going back is that everyone supports each other, right? Someone gets star baker and everyone's like, oh, Nigel, look at Nigel. Like, Nigel's amazing. Dude did a great job, right? So self-confidence allows us to hold others up and to say, we are all equally capable, amazing, incredible. It's abundance. Self-confidence is the energy of abundance, not scarcity. Arrogance is about scarcity. It's saying there's only enough good energy and positive vibes and positive support and success available in this world. And abundance is tied so directly with self-confidence, right? You can do amazing and I can do amazing too. We can both do amazing. We can both be wild successes, and we can both fail fantastically and support ourselves and each other along the way. So, why aren't most of us living with more self-confidence? So, one, we don't trust ourselves. We don't trust ourselves to continue to have our backs, right? We don't trust ourselves to continue to choose positive self-regard. We don't trust ourselves to continue failing, because the script is in there that failure is very bad and should be avoided at all costs. But as soon as you can shift that script, failure is amazing. That is how you learn. And the more love you can give yourself, the more you can be like, I'm Star Baker in my own life. Look at me failing. I went out there, I made a podcast, I did an Instagram live, I did a webinar, I applied for the job, I asked that human on a date, I asked that human on a second date, right? I put myself out there. Amazing. Amazing. And that is how you build trust in yourself. The trust that belies that beautiful self-confidence. And when you know how to manage your mind, when you understand that your thoughts create your feelings, you take action based on your feelings, your somatic experience of this life, your bodily sensations, that is what drives you to take action to create the results you desire, whatever that result is. And so when you don't recognize that, it can feel like a feeling comes out of nowhere. And so we're not talking about a nervous system reaction here. We're not talking about just like sympathetic overdrive, dorsal vagal shutdown, ventral vagal, right? We're talking about the feelings, the brain down. So 80% of our experience somatically is from the body through the vagus nerve up into the brain. And we then interpret it, and then we send a signal down into the body in response. So for example, I'll get right back to self-confidence. You feel anxious, your heart rate starts to increase in your breathing gets a little shallow, your palms get a little sweaty. Physiologic experience, vagus nerve up into your brain, sympathetic overdrive, adrenaline, norepinephrine, eventually cortisol are racing through your body. Okay. You get to take a deep breath in, into that belly and all the way out. Long and slow. Long, slow, deep breath. That's the key, one of the key ways to get ventral vagal. And then from there, you get to choose the next thought that you're going to inject into the system, right? Into the chemistry lab of being a human so that you can create oxytocin for yourself. Self-love, that chemical of love, right? So that you can get back into that right alignment with yourself and shift out of your habitual thinking into the thinking you want to choose and to live into to create the feelings that you want. Okay, I nerded. It's what I do. It's my brain loves to nerd. I love it. So babies, when we are building self-confidence, we need to understand that we are capable of doing this, right? That we have this capacity to choose our thoughts, to create our feelings, to create that physiologic experience that leads us to do the next right thing in our lives. And when we don't understand this, when we're not really clued into this and working to harness it, right? Awareness, acceptance, action, and be in control of it, we let ourselves down consistently because we have a feeling like self-doubt or worry, and we believe that it's a fact. We don't recognize the thought, the cognition that's leading to that feeling, which profoundly undermines your ability to stay in trust and to stay in integrity with yourself. And in that, when you're not aware of the role that you can play actively, cognitively to create your experience, your feelings, of course you live in fear of your feelings. Like, that makes sense. Logical, right? If it feels like they come from outside, like a car crash, like a thing that you cannot avoid, it makes perfect sense to be afraid of them. But when you understand the role that you can play to shift them, that relationship shifts forever. And when the story is, I don't want any negativity, I don't want disappointment, I don't want fear, I don't want worry, I don't want failure, like I don't want it. When you push against it, instead of understanding that life is 50-50, babes. I'm tapping on the Stoics here because it really supports me to understand life is 50% joy and 50% not joy, right? Misery, sadness, worry, all the rest. Sometimes you have to get to, because you don't have to, you get to move through it to get to the other side, to find the profound joy that comes with feeling like, oof, I did a thing. That was a wild failure, and that feels disappointing and frustrating. Let's do it again. That's how you build trust. Instead of hiding, instead of attempting to emotionally bypass and attempting to leapfrog over the challenging feelings, right? The negative feelings. And it leaves us scared to do anything that has the risk of failure, right? It leaves you questioning your ability. Because if the story in your head is you have to do it perfectly or you will feel this dread, negative emotion, then you are scared to do the thing. Because perfection is unattainable in terms of human action. You are perfect in your soul, in your spirit, as an animal. You are so perfect. But to write the perfect memo, create the perfect podcast, do the perfect live, impossible, right? And also wildly possible when you understand and believe that doing your best and going for it and putting yourself out there and getting vulnerable and risking failure is as close to perfection as a human can get. So when you're not trying to avoid those negative feelings, that's when your opinion of yourself gets lifted. When you are tapping into your neuroplasticity, which means your ability to change your habitual thinking with your own mind, with your consciousness, with your cognition, right? Then you get to think that new thought over and over. I am so worthy of this outcome. I will work hard towards this outcome. I will take courageous action towards this outcome. I will fail, fail better, fail again, fail better, fail again. I am willing to feel it all towards my goal of increasing my self-confidence, knowing that it's an inside job. So, thoughts create feelings. Beliefs create states of being. Beliefs are just your thoughts that you've thought over and over and over again. Excuse me. I've been talking an awful lot in this pandemic. Thinking thoughts that create confidence and then believing them is a skill. Most of our beliefs are recycled. They've been in you for a very long time. They're coming from your perfect, amazing inner child, from your protector parts, from that like grumpy adolescent that's like, ugh, don't be confident. That's stupid. My inner adolescent, like she's from the 90s. So she's like wearing a Stussy shirt and Jenko jeans. Maybe someone out there feels me. And yeah, so that's what she's doing. She's like holding her skateboard and she's like really grumpy and suspicious of everything. And she doesn't want me to be like really confident because she's worried she's going to get made fun of. Like the mean girls, there were, what I experienced at the time is like this pack of like mean girls in my high school and middle school. And my inner adolescent really learned to push that likability, like that concept that she could be liked and good enough away because it seemed so unattainable, right? Because in her eyes, if these girls didn't like her, like the cool, weird, artsy girls, then she wasn't good enough. And so she's alive within me and she comes out to play, right? I'll try to do a new thing and she's like, really? You're gonna do an Instagram live. You have enough to say to like ramble at people for a half hour or 45 minutes? Whatever. And she just rolls her eyes. And I get to see her and meet her with love and say, baby girl, I see you. I love you. I get it. Like, I get it. You felt deeply rejected and that's okay. You still get to feel that. And right now, we are not aligned with this goal and I love you and I can bring her healing and support, which so often when we're working with parts and with our inner child really looks like simply saying like, babe, I see you, right? I am ventral vagal with you. I am connected with you. You are not alone. You don't have to be worried. This outcome isn't going to kill us. This action isn't going to kill us. This feeling, this thought aren't going to kill us. We get to try this. We get to do this. And if we fail, I will be nice to me. At the very least, I will not beat myself up. So listen, once you go skateboard, inner grumpy adolescent, and I will take it from here. I am a competent, confident adult doing a really scary thing, might fail, whatever that scary thing is, and I got it from here, babe. And when I have that kind of a loving connection, loving interchange, things just roll so much easier, right? When that protective part really feels taken care of. And that's that real healing that allows me to continue to show up and show up and show up and create beliefs. So again, thoughts create feelings, beliefs create states of being. And beliefs are just thoughts that you've thought over and over and over again until your brain's neuroplasticity, its capacity to change and take on new thoughts and believe them, has decided to believe that this thought is real. And so you get to think thoughts that create confidence and think them over and over and over again. Because knowing and understanding that the familiar and efficient thinking is always going to take precedent until you insert yourself, right? Until you find a way to lovingly, kindly, gently intercede on your own behalf for your own best wellness. So, my beauties, that is it. That is my thinking, my experience of building self-confidence for myself. If you enjoyed this, please go on over to Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to the Feminist Wellness Podcast. It's free. It comes out every Thursday morning. It is a labor of love, and I'm so excited to share it with you. If you want some more meditations and other supports from me, head over to my website, which is, I'm going to type this in real quick, victoriaalbina.com. And you can head on over right at the top of the homepage. There's a place to sign up. You just put your little email in and you get a series of meditations sent right into your email inbox. And that's pretty cool. So there's a nervous system orienting exercise, one about the supporting your inner child, boundaries, and a fourth one. And I can't remember right now, and that's just fine because I'm a human and I love myself. All right, my beauties, this has been phenomenal. I will see you right back here next Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be in touch. I love hearing from you. Be well. Take good care. Remember, self-confidence is an inside job. The call is always coming from inside the house. Ciao.